I mean, that basically breaks the Koth formula that we were talking about, and you'll see that it'll break and not really allow any of the other formulas to, that we'll be looking at later. What's the next map, by the way?
Spooky Ridge, actually, my map.
Okay, cool. Nice. So we'll be looking at a CP80 map.
Attack defense.
Yep. Which shares some theory crap with payload, but not really. It's like, just like, if it was code, it shares a couple of lines of code out of a few 100,000.
I mean, let's not forget, payload in TF2 is literally just a hacky version of attack defense CP.
In a way, yeah. So, that little area that I was just shooting into, and like, say this right here, this is a choke. That's me dying. But that was a choke, and then around that corner is another choke. And when you design chokes, you want to make them difficult to get through. Like, you want to make it, like, that's where the pushes have to happen. One of the rules that I always follow, or followed, I should say. I should be speaking in past tense because I haven't made a TF2 map in years. The rule that I always followed with choke points was you wanted to kind of almost force an Uber, which an Uber is the medic class, which I'll play next, actually. If they're using an Uber gun, as the medic heals people, they will gain Uber, and at 100%, they can activate this Uber that makes whoever they're healing invulnerable for a certain amount of time. That's really powerful when breaking through chokes, because then you can just waltz right through a choke, and no one's going to do anything about it, because they can't actually kill you.
Like that choke we're trying to defend right now, and you're spamming nades into.
Yeah! So, ow, stop it, stop. Oh.
Honestly, one of the things about TF2 is that it has a pretty sizable competitive community with a lot of maps that were made specifically for it. And I think that shows
actually, Bagel. The last one we were just playing was originally a competitive map that Yerzy spooked up for Halloween.
Yeah, I like the competitive mapping. Look, the community is kind of toxic, but like the maps that come out of it, for mapping for competitive is they all have
really refined.
Yeah, because one of the biggest things that all TF2 maps share is timings. And that is something because every class has a different move speed. So the demo man moves faster than the heavy. The heavy is the slowest, the scout is the fastest, and then everyone else is somewhere in between. And then there's variants on that. So like the demo, or so like the pyro had at one point this ability that made it run faster. The heavy has gloves that made it run faster. Do the Guru still speed up? Okay. I know they exist. I forgot if there's a big balance patch. I didn't actually see what changed.
Yeah, the Groove make you speed up, but you lose max health over time or something like that.
Okay. So the mobility is a big thing, and that's where like Demo Man. Speaking of, that's where like Demo Man and soldiers come in. Is that with their rocket and det jumping? Is that they now have the ability to do rollouts essentially, which are essentially them moving very quickly to the point. So instead of just running, they just explode their way over there.
As you would in real life.
Yeah, I explode my way to work every morning.
Fun fact, before stairs, that's how they got up to second floors all the time.
Yep. Who invented stairs?
Abraham Lincoln invented stairs, I think, or...
Yeah, I think either he either invented stairs or rocket jumping.
It's actually, I'm pretty sure they messed up the lore and it's both. There's a reference to both in there.
Abe Lincoln invented stairs. And he was bored, yeah.
I'm looking this up.
So we have, I guess, just kind of recap, because I think we'll probably maybe switch next at the end of this round.
Yep, after this round.
So kind of to recap, payload level design 101. You have a moving objective. you need to take into account that the pathway, and you have to even the pathway itself, you don't want it to be very dense, because if it loops on itself too much, like looping on itself is okay, and there's theory behind that, and I could probably spend 2 hours of a show just talking about payload level design. Honestly, you could probably spend 2 hours talking about every game's level design, but the main thing is it's a moving objective. And you have to take that into account. Hey, hello, Mr. Heavy. Thank you. Oh, wait, crap. You have to take that into account when you're doing your level design. Is that this objective, that the point that both teams are going to be moving, one's trying to prevent it from moving, the other one's trying to make it move, are going to be moving to as they move through the level. And then so as you move through, there's checkpoints. Those checkpoints are usually put behind choke points as a bit of a reward for making it through choke points, which are difficult parts of the map to get through. Or even harder. It's kind of weird. So like the earlier choke points should be easier to get through, harder to defend. The later choke points should be harder to get through, easier to defend. Though how that goes about is a little bit different.
Oh yeah, no, that is the.
Yeah, I think I got that right.
Anyways, I looked up the Abraham Lincoln thing.
Oh yeah.
And apparently, according to TF2's lore, in the 18th century, in the space of a single year, the two-story building, stage play, America, and the rocket launcher were all invented by Shakespeareans, the strongest writer who ever lived.
Shakespeareans?
Yeah,
Shakespeareans.
Oh, Shakespeareans. Wait.
Hercules?
Yeah. Or like any dead Greek guy, because they all ended in Ericles.
So then, for the next 100 years, people used rocket launchers to get to the second floor. But in 1857, a young bearded inventor named Abraham Lincoln stumbled upon the answer: stairs. Although he never grasped the full import of his own invention, died attempting a rocket jump up the world's first staircase.
Oh, I love TF2 lore. Did I touch on anything? Oh, forward spawns. I forgot. Checkpoints usually also move the spawn points, so that you want to be designing the spawn points so that they are close enough that the engagement is where you want it to be, and you can use like proximity to spawn points, because there's inside every spawn point, or inside every spawn room, excuse me, there is a health resupply cabinet. It instantly refills your ammo, it instantly refills your health. So if you're pushing out of spawn, you can always just fall back and push into that, get yourself healed up in an instant, and run back. So there's that.
Maybe not every spawn room, but most of them, because there's certain game modes where they won't have them. Like Arena's the obvious one, but sometimes like certain forward spawns won't have them, like on control point maps.
Yeah, and in 5CP, you usually want the last point spawn room to have resupply.
Yeah.
Because if you have it in the forward spawn at like the middle point, for example, someone can just stay in spawn and just keep shooting out of there and have infinite ammo.
That's true. And then you get into like the meta theory of where you should put your resupply lockers. See, this is why I really like TF2 level design, because it gets intricate as fuck. So these things instantly heal you and instantly provide and refill everything. Like they just put you back to respawn, basically. And so if you put one right next to the door, let's just say this barrel here is the respawn locker, and this is the door, I can come out, fire a couple of things off, instantly get respawn, instantly get health. Oh crap, I now am missing half my health. Come in, instantly heal. That's really powerful. So you really don't want that sometimes. So what you want to do is you want to put it maybe over there. So it takes me a couple of seconds to go over and come back. And in those couple of seconds, that gives a chance for whoever I'm fighting against to either push in or get away or do whatever they need to do. but that's just like crazy meta theory when it comes to where you want to put resupply lockers. Health packs are similar too, and I don't even know if we'll be able to touch on those today. Am I missing anything else with payload?
We talked about payload race.
I was talking about payload itself because if we talk about payload race, we have to talk about multi-stage payload and then multi-stage payload race.
Gotcha.
But to touch on those really quick, payload race is both teams have their own payload that they have to push to the enemy side, and there's a crisscross in the middle, and that's usually the main conflict point. And TF2 is based around conflict points and like front lines and stuff like that. So, payload race, you have to have a crisscross where the tracks cross, and then the way that the point goes, the way that the point goes into the enemy territory is something that you also need to kind of keep in mind and consider. And then there's multi-stage of each, which is so it would be 2 points that you would have to push to, and then you stop and you reload. Not really reload. Then you move to a new map, and then you move to a new map after that. It's usually the standard is 3, but many people just do 2 stages. So it would be actually no, wait, yeah, no, multi-stage is 2 points, or is it just 1? I'm trying to think of Thunder Mountain, and I thought Thunder Mountain is 2 per stage.
I don't remember.
I don't remember. I think it varies.
Posted a GIF of me coming up at the start of my stream, and I'm like dying laughing.
Oh no!
I just linked it in my Discord.
I gotta say, that was the fucking creepiest shit I've seen all day.
I just
Oh god, now the GIF is frozen on my other screen, and it just your eyes just poking up from the bottom of the screen.
This is where I wish I had a picture or I had a video of the ground of Crash just crawling into the office to his desk with that stuff on.
Oh no, I started a war about how to pronounce GIF.
Oh no. Guys, it's peanut butter.
Yeah, GIF is peanut butter. GIFs are graphics interchange
And now
formats.
I just brought the fight into here.
No. I personally
am I
don't
last
care.
point?
I
Wait,
really
no, that's
don't
not last
care.
point. It's A.
So JPEG, do you pronounce that JFEG because it's photography?
No, shut up.
So we're playing on Spooky Ridge now. Spooky Ridge. And this is actually this is a map made by Crash and his friends. So Crash, why don't you, if you feel like it, tell us a little bit about the map, the design. What were you thinking on this first point? Why the hell is there a giant pit in front of it? Why did you decide to add coffins to the Halloween version? Oh, I meant the. Sorry, I didn't mean pit. I meant the canal.
Oh, gotcha. So this was originally. I'm just gonna jump into a death pit instead of fight a skeleton while I'm trying to talk. This was originally CP Stony Ridge. We made this like close to 7 years ago now. It was a collaborative project, one of the first ones that I really joined and got started on, between me, Hey You, and Zizzy. And then we had another guy named Little Boots who did some assets for us. But the three of us, we did like the main design of the map. Long story short, many years later, I decided to pick it back up and spook it up for this year's Halloween event. And this is what we have. I always try to do some kind of unique event. I feel like a lot of times with Halloween maps, it's really easy to just throw some pumpkins in and like make an underworld that pops up sometimes. And you know, I like to do things new when I make maps. So this map actually has very Stranger Things inspired
Crash,
sort
I'm
of upside
stuck.
down.
Crash, I'm stuck.
Jump out of it. You can crouch jump on the post. I knew right where you were. There you go.
I got it. I'm safe.
Anyway, there's sort of like an alternate reality version of this map that you can teleport to at any time.
Which I've ran into a couple of times on stream already. So I will, as soon as I see one of those portals, I'll run through it.
I have them very offense focused, so offense gets most of them, and they're kind of like these alternate flank routes that can't be seen. I think it's a really cool way to do it. It's questionable if it's done well. I guess it's up to you guys to decide.
I've always enjoyed Spooky Ridge.
I think it's pretty cool.
Stony Ridge.
But then the other place too, which I can show. Where are you at, Frozen?
I'm by the coffin behind A. Yeah, I'm on medic.
Okay. Oh crap! You're a different medic than I thought. I was going to show you. If you stay by that coffin, I'm going to show how the coffin works. Yeah, come here.
Yeah. Should I demonstrate it or should you demonstrate it?
I'll do it so you can watch it because you're doing your stream too.
All right, there we go.
So I have these coffins that actually have a suction effect to them. It's custom prop made up for us. And I wanted to put skeletons on the map, but I didn't know how to introduce them into the map.
There we go.
So we went this route where the coffin kills you and releases your skeleton into the world, which I think is a fun little mechanic.
And with these event maps, you can actually even non-event maps, you can kind of get away with these little gimmicky things quite often, and it's all about where you put them. Because I kind of
is very forgiving when it comes to shenanigans.
Because the whole game is shenanigans.
Especially Halloween maps are.
And I think with your coffin specifically, I kind of want to touch on death pits, because you have a giant death pit in front of your map, and a couple of times when I've been streaming actual like level design stuff, people were like, add death pits. I'm like, but I don't want to add death pits to this specific thing. What do you think about death pits, and what was your motivation for why did you put one in front of this point, in front of your final point?
So death pits are kind of I think they're almost a fun way to die at times. Sometimes it can be frustrating, of course, but it's one of those things like, okay, there's this massive hole and I just fell into it and now I'm dead. Like, that's funny. It just like comes out to be a funny way to die. As for this point itself, I think we just wanted to experiment with putting a death pit around the last, and that being a hazard you have to overcome in addition to capturing the point. Like, the whole focus of the map is that last point.
Yeah.
There's a really cool animation too, that if you do catch the end of it, you should make sure you see
I
that.
will try my best to be there.
But then it kind of gives defenders a place to throw attackers and vice versa. So it adds some depth to the map that isn't in other CP maps.
Yeah, and when you talk about death it's death pits have kind of traditionally been used as kind of this neutral but positive and like negative gameplay space. It's a space that you can't you have to, like, both teams actually have to actively avoid it, so it's not like a wall where you can't go through that area, but it is something that you can fire over and something that you have to keep in mind when you're around it. So it's kind of like death pits are kind of like the third team in this game, in a way, or like just hazards in general. Yeah. And so if you're like, I really want players to have to be cautious around this area, or I want to make this area a little bit easier for defenders, you can say, maybe I should put a death pit there, or I have this. Like, I have this area and I need to make a choke, but it needs to be easier for blue to shoot across. You can add a death pit, in a way. And so death pits are are pretty fun. I 100% approve the liberal use of death pits.
Okay, how about this? Floor is lava. You can't go on the floor. You have to rocket jump everywhere, even if you're not rocket jump class. The floor is just a huge death pit.
I've seen a map like that.
I have too.